How you going, guys? Curtis from Cutting Edge Engineering. If you haven't guessed it, today we're going to be doing a little bit of work on the new engine for the Franna crane. We've got some changes that we need to do to make sure everything works and fits correctly. The things that we need to work on is we need to flip the sump around because the way it's configured at the moment, there are interference issues with the drive shaft from the transmission to the rear diff. We also need to address the killer dowel pin, and because we put an aftermarket air compressor on the engine, there isn't enough thread engagement on the studs in the timing cover to hold the compressor in place securely. So we need to sort that and deal with anything else along the way for those changes. So we're going to get started with the sump. We're also going to need to relocate the dipstick position and modify the oil pickup for the oil pump. But to get to all that, we need to get the sump off.
Oh dear.
So that's ready to come off, but before we remove it, I am going to check to see if there's any oil in the oil pan. There is nothing on the dipstick, but we just want to be sure.
Quick. Okay.
So there was a little bit of oil left over in there, and that would have just been from when they test run it in the factory.
Whoa. Lovely.
So that's the sump off and everything looks nice and clean and new as it should for a brand new engine. And now we can see the oil pick up, and what we need to do is remove it and shorten it. So we need to make it go. Based on the design of the sump, we're going to need to shorten this by about half, so let's go do that. And to cut this, we're going to be using our roller pipe cutter. There's a little wheel in there, and as you rotate the tool, it cuts into the pipe, and you wind in the handle, which advances the cutter until you cut the piece of material in half. See, it leaves a line out. You keep winding that in.
Holy moly. Like that. Wow.
And the other great thing, it's got a built-in deburrer, so you can deburr the cut.
Amazing.
And to weld these back together, we're going to be using teeth. So we got that fully welded and we're going to let that cool down for a little bit, and while we're waiting we're going to relocate the dipstick. And conveniently there are 2 other locations and we're going to be moving it to the location at the front. To hold the dipstick tube in, there is a friction fit sleeve that has been hammered into the block. I'm just going to use a 9.5mm punch to drive it out.
No, it's not moved. Oh, there we go.
Oh, it's locked tight. So we successfully got that removed. It took a little bit more than I thought it would. It looks like they'd used some sort of retaining compound. Before we can fit it into the front location, I just need to remove the blanking plug.
Is that it?
That's it. Thread locker, oil tolerant. Make sure we can fit it.
Oh yeah.
There's a little bit too much resistance going in between the pump and the block. I think that would just lead to dramas with trying to install the dipstick. So what we're just going to do is route it in behind the air compressor and then we can zip tie it up to the pump. So I'm just going to remove the air compressor, that way I've got better access so I can hit in that sleeve. Now that's done and our oil pickup has cooled down, we'll give it a clean and reinstall it.
Ew.
Now we've got that fitted, we can refit the sump. Fortunately, we didn't damage the gasket when removing it, although we did have a brand new one ready to go. Righto guys, so that's the sump refitted and we got plenty of clearance for our drive shaft. Now we're going to get onto the killer dowel pin. And to get to that, we need to get all of this removed.
Ooh. Wait, what?
Now we've got all that out of the way, we can see the killer dowel pin. Over time, it can work its way out and it falls into the timing gears and it can do a lot of damage and even ride off an engine. So this is a pretty common problem for the 6BT. There are actually dowel pin killer kits available. I wasn't overly concerned about it. I'm not trying to achieve 1,000 horsepower and go all the way to the moon, but there were a lot of people that commented that were concerned about it. I then did a bit of research and decided it's better to be safe than sorry, but we haven't bought a kit, we're just going to make something. All we need to do is make something that sits here and is bolted down, and that will cover this hole to prevent the dowel pin from falling out. And what we're going to be using is a part from the injector pump out of the old Perkins engine that we removed out of the crane.
Hey, what you got? Come on. Oh, he found something. He found his piggy. No, traded it back.
Sit, sit, stay, you stay.
Oh, no.
Drop it. Good boy. Sit, sit, sit down, stay, stay, stay. That. So that's our little cover made. Now we're just going to make sure it fits. So that fits spot on. I am using a bolt that's about 10 mil longer, and I'm just going to apply a little bit of Loctite because we don't want the bolt falling out into the timing gears either. What that dowel is actually used for is to align the timing cover onto the front of the block. Because it is such a common problem, it could have been an issue during manufacturing and the tolerances weren't quite right on the dowel pin hole itself and they weren't tight enough. Another alternative would be to not drill the hole all the way through the timing cover, which would encapsulate the dowel and stop it from falling out. But what we've done has got that sorted. Now we're going to get this covered back up. Next thing we're going to get onto is replacing the studs in the back of the timing cover that hold on the air compressor. So these studs are threaded into the back of the timing cover. Because it is aluminium, we do need to be extremely careful that we don't strip the threads or break the studs. And to try and remove them, I'm going to use the double nut method. So that doesn't want to move at all. I'd say it's because of the Loctite, so we're going to be using a little bit of heat to try and melt that Loctite. I want to avoid putting heat directly on the aluminium housing. Not only would it burn off the paint, but there's also a risk of stripping the threads directly out of the housing because aluminium is very soft. So I'm going to concentrate the heat on the end of the stud. It will then travel down into the Loctite and hopefully loosen it up and we can extract the stud.
No?
So that was successful. Now we're going to do the same thing to the other stud and get that removed. So I definitely call that a win. We got both of those studs removed successfully. Before we fit the new ones, we are going to change out the gasket. And we have got a box of parts for the accessories on the motor. We got them from Perry Parts in the US because they're about quarter of the price than what we could buy them for here. Before we fit the new ones, we're going to remove the old gasket because we are replacing it.
Is that because we heated it?
Yeah.
Oh.
These are the new studs. They are a genuine Cummins part. They're only about 5mm longer, but they have a stop shoulder on them, so you can't wind them in too far.
Ooh.
So this new gasket has a grafted rubber seal in it. It is 10 times better than the fibre paper style gasket we took off it. And I really don't want this to leak because if I need to fix a leak on the compressor, I have to pull the engine out of the crane. Before we mount the compressor, I need to install a fitting into the block and that will supply oil to the compressor. Now that's installed, we can fit the air compressor. So there's more than enough thread engagement on those studs now, which is exactly what we need. But what I've realized is the oil feed hose that goes from the block to the compressor isn't quite long enough, which means the fitting I just installed into the block, we need to move it to the port that's in behind the compressor, which means taking the compressor back off.
Stay. All right. Reaches?
I can get to it. It's all good. We put the fitting in that. Righto guys, so that's our air compressor fitted. We still have to make a mount that supports the compressor to the engine block. We're not going to do that just yet because we still need to design the mount that goes on the front of the motor for the hydraulic pump, and we will incorporate that mount into that. So that's those changes completed on our engine, but there still is more to do. You'll have to stay tuned for that video. Thanks for watching. No, I can't do it yet. Righto, so that's the sump off and everything looks really good, and all we need to do is make something that is secured pipe. There's a little wheel that as you rotate it, it cuts into the material, and you advance the handle until you cut through the material. There's a little wheel.
There's a little wheel. As you rotate it, it cuts the pipe.
Righto. There's a little wheel that... fuck me.
There's a...
Help. There's a little wheel, and as you rotate... Oh, no, we're not rotating that, we're rotating the tool. There's a little wheel in there, and as you rotate the tool, it cuts the pipe.
Yep.
Righto. There's a little wheel in there, and when you rotate the pull... Strip the threads. Strip the threads? Yeah. What?
Are you good?
Oh, fuck, I've already forgotten. So definitely call that a win. Is that how I started it?
You okay?
No. I'm having a bad day.
Where's your magnet tray?
I don't have any left.
Don't have any left, but you don't know where they are.
I don't know where they are. For fuck's sake.
Oh my god. These clamps are annoying. Is it the clamp or the user?
Nearly there.
You're so silly. Hey. Yeah, it's all slobbery.